I remember looking to my mom, being 8 years old and saying, "Mommy, we've got to leave."
We were a family of 5, first-generation Mexican-American. My parents both from Mexico, living in North Texas.
Even now, 20 years later, I sit and wonder, how could an 8-year-old possibly know that this situation wasn't right?
Photos show the anguish and pain in my mother's face.
I was always scared. You don't know what's going to happen next, or if you are going to do something to upset the person.
She says at first the abuse was mostly psychological and emotional. She describes a manipulative partner who used her children as ammunition.
I was always threatened for taking them away from me. It was probably the biggest weapon that a person like that uses. They use what you love the most to keep you there.
She spent nearly a decade in the shadows, afraid, lost, with little hope.
And every day I was looking at them and I was just thinking, how can I get out of this situation? I was here all alone with no support from anybody. My family turned their back on me and it was just me and my 3 girls.
It was an uphill battle.
I planned it so many times that I didn't know where to go because I didn't have any friends or a place. I didn't know shelter existed or anything because I wasn't allowed to go out and talk to people. I was allowed just to stay home with my girls.
As she slowly broke away from his manipulation, her partner, my father, found other ways to keep her broken.
When they cannot longer own your mind, then they go physical.
And that's exactly what happened.
I think we were going to school that morning and there was some sort of argument between my mom and my real dad, and it involved taking my youngest sister to school or to daycare. I remember, seeing my mom and her saying, "Give me back my baby." And, as a child, I'm just like, what do I do? And so I don't remember if I began helping my mom fight my real dad. That might have happened, I don't know. And then at one point he threw her on the bed and he shook her, and just seeing the look in my mom's eyes was something that, just breaks my heart that I as a child had to see, because it's a look that I don't think any child should ever see in their parents' eyes.
That look prompted me to call police.
My girls, they gave me the strength, especially Leslie. She was so little, and I didn't speak English, and the police wanted to know what happened.
The officers quickly showed up.
I just remember being super scared, but then Leslie says, "Mommy, he's asking if he hit you." And then I say, "No, I fell." I say, "Mommy, he's asking if he hit you." And I say, "No, I fell." And so then the police, they don't do anything unless you confess. And I just kept saying, and then he always controlled me with his eyes. I said it right now, always. He was looking at me like saying, "You better not say anything because you know what's gonna happen." So then I saw my daughter's eyes and she was like, "Mommy, he's asking, tell him I'm okay."
Fearing what her abuser would do next, she wanted to stay quiet, like many victims. But 8-year-old Leslie stepped up.
But when she told me, "Tell him, Mommy, it's okay, tell him what he did to you." And then the police says, "Did he hit you?" And I say, "Yes." And then the police says, "It's all what I needed to know." He kind of brought stuff, and then he says, "Grab your stuff, whatever you need right now, we're gonna take you away from here."
And off they went to a women's domestic violence shelter, emergency housing to help get away, a place of hope.
That minute, I felt like I was born again, like, okay, I can breathe. We left and it was a shelter, and our life started right there.
In months, they were on their feet, still afraid, but stronger.
If his family is gonna see this, they're gonna say, "No, it's not true." But they didn't live with him. I live with him. Don't stay, don't. There's always something good out of it, and that's why we're here today.
My mother is happily remarried. living in North Texas, empowering women through fitness and dance. Outside of news, I sit on the board for the Family Abuse Center in Waco and spend my time empowering women through yoga.
You are worth more. You are enough. Anybody that is willing to put your face at the end of their fist is not worth your life.
Researchers say we've learned more about the brain and its injuries these past 10 years than ever before. But even then, they say we're still only scratching the surface with this research. Now, less than a year ago, the UIL, which regulates high school sports in Texas, started a concussion registry to proactively measure the effects on young minds. Now, all this fear has left one Midway High School mother concerned, and now she's taking matters into her own hands.
It's a religion, a way of life.
I have a son who's now almost 16, who a few years ago was just pleading with me to let him play tackle football, which I had said no to for a long, long time because I was concerned about his safety.
Her biggest concern, recent stories about dangerous brain injuries, even deadly degenerative brain diseases. Headlines haunting this mother who also dedicates her life to keeping people healthy.
I've been in private practice as a licensed acupuncturist and nutritionist and herbalist for about 14 years. A lot of the middle-aged and older men that I see in my practice have knee and shoulder and back and neck pain that they can trace back to playing high school football.
But as any parent knows, it's not about what you want. That's her son, Luke, number 7, quarterback for the JV Midway Panthers.
He was able to persuade me, and we got him the best helmet that we could buy, and just sort of prayed for his safety on the field.
But prayers aren't the only thing this mother's turning to.
What I've been doing recently is a lot of research related to nutrition and supplements and botanical medicines and acupuncture and things like that. What I'm trying to do is give the brain the nutrition that it needs.
So Kristen, talk to me about the type of supplements that your son takes.
One of the other things that he's taking is curcumin, which is derived from the spice turmeric, and research actually indicates that turmeric and curcumin helps to protect the function of the blood-brain barrier. So definitely fish oil is a supplement that I think is really important. Then botanical medicines like ginkgo. Ginkgo is an herb that's been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years for brain function specifically.
She's also turning to the ancient Chinese needles.
As far as acupuncture is concerned, that the U.S. military actually has been sort of pioneered the use of acupuncture for the treatment of concussions.
She says research shows acupuncture helps reduce inflammation in the brain.
Basically, acupuncture takes your body's own capacity to heal itself and just sort of strengthens and focuses it.
Yeah, it's definitely out of the ordinary, but that is never a bad thing. You don't really feel anything, you just be relaxed and just kind of chill out.
So what effect do all of these needles and pills have? We took that question to the University of Texas at Dallas Center for Brain Health.
Is there great risk in these methods? And not necessarily. Is there a lot of scientifically validated research on these methods? No, not currently.
Lori Cook is the center's director of clinical research. She studied brain injuries for 17 years.
In your opinion, would you say this mom is neither right nor wrong in her proactive approach?
I would say she's right in being proactive. Now, in terms of her specific approach, we don't have a lot of evidence to say, yes, this is the protocol you should follow.
Now, that's not to say scientists aren't looking at it.
One supplement that researchers are taking a close look at is DHA. This is the most abundant omega-3 fatty acid in the brain, and there is some promising work initially done in animals and now in student athletes, in fact, to see how it potentially impacts the brain, especially for those who are exposed to repetitive hits.
This mother isn't waiting for answers.
What I'm doing is just my best guess at how we can provide nutrition to the brain of growing teenagers to help to keep them as healthy as possible. Football is a really central part of our family's life. I'm really glad for my son to participate in it.
A Texas passion number 7 hopes to take beyond the Friday night lights. In Central Texas, Leslie Rangel, Fox 44 News.
It's December the 7th, and Doris Miller has come home.
Waco native turned American hero.
The community was looking for the young man that they could look up to, someone who had gone beyond the call of duty, someone who respected his country and was dearly fighting for it.
The unveiling last year of the Doris Miller sculpture is just the first piece to his memorial being built.
And then to open the box, there was just this silence, including Eddie Dixon, the sculptor.
It was important that I captured that because he was a hero, and I call myself a sculptor of unsung heroes.
Doris Miller was only a cook aboard the West Virginia when 9 torpedoes hit the ship on Pearl Harbor December 7, 1941. Instead of following command, he took up arms and fired back at the enemy. Now the American hero's legacy will live on with the completion of this memorial and serve as a unifying symbol for the Waco community.
And it's the kind of story we need young folks to understand that, going beyond what's expected of you really is a great thing to do.
The foundation is about set and the shape of the memorial comes to life.
You walk along, you can see all the structures that are in place, that they actually tension them to get the correct bend.
Now I'm standing right in the middle of what is going to be the reflection pool. Doris Miller will actually be standing on the highest point looking out towards the American flag. Now you won't see any of this as there'll be so many changes coming this year, but its debut date will be Pearl Harbor Day 2018.
So we hope it will become part of Waco's fabric.
Definitely the N-word, and his commands were to move to the back of the bus. I can now feel the feeling that was in my stomach, and it was one of fear, but he could have done any number of things, I suppose.
It was the 1960s when teenager Jewel Lockridge would take the most memorable bus ride of her life. Waco Independent School District was the largest segregated school system in Texas at the time. Racial tensions were high, and the civil rights movement was spreading.
But coupled with that fear was this determination not to move, because I knew that I didn't have to move. He couldn't make me move.
That protest would change her life forever.
All these years later, I'm sitting once again in the seat that I sat in that caused all of this. The difference now is that I'm a lot older and a lot more aware of the consequences that could have come.
In 1964, when the 15-year-old A.J. Moore High School student boarded that Waco City bus near 17th and Wood Avenue, she wanted to go shopping downtown, but that would come at a price.
Even though we were allowed to sit on the front seat, the bus driver was having none of that. And throughout the ride, he made racial slurs, he used the N-word, he threatened me, whatever he could do to make me move to the rear of the bus.
And when it was time to get off at her stop,
even though I was sitting at the front of the bus, he wouldn't open the front door. He only opened the back door.
Over the years, her refusal to move has garnished her comparisons to Rosa Parks, a woman Jewel deeply respects.
I would love to have spoken with Rosa Parks. She probably could have said, "Girl, you have no idea what you did."
You are hard-pressed to touch the black middle class in Waco and not touch Paul Quinn College.
In 1877, the campus moved from Austin to Waco and was renamed Bishop William Paul Quinn. The alternative black school focused primarily on vocational training, although it did offer theology, English, Latin, music, and math.
In the late 1980s, an African-American businessman presented Paul Quinn with an opportunity to bring the campus north to a more urban setting, but to also revitalize campus life. Paul Quinn utilized that opportunity, and in September of 1990, Paul Quinn moved right here to the Dallas campus, becoming one of the most innovative schools in the country.
They gave us the freedom to sort of blow everything up and create what we think modern higher education should look like.
When President Michael Sorrell arrived in 2007, the campus had only months to stay open. He changed all of that.
So, that meant that we were in a food desert. So we turned the football field into a farm so that we can highlight food insecurity issues. We fought over environmental justice issues. We cut tuition by $10,000 and created a model where students could graduate owing less than $10,000 for a 4-year college degree.
What's left of the old campus in Waco is now Rappaport Academy, but its history continues to influence young people.
Being born in Waco, a lot of people I looked up to, mentors, teachers, principals, and even some relatives of mine were students of Paul Quinn College.
40% of our students come from outside the state of Texas. 23% of our students are Latinos. So we are America's historically black college now. We have a whole different swagger than we ever had before.
Carrots, apple, celery, kale, and lime.
Just a few of the raw veggies and fruits that make up one of Summer Shine's Luna juices.
It's really, really good for the same symptoms as if you had a hangover, so it's great for nausea, headaches.
Shine believes her drinks make it easier to get nutrients from veggies you might not otherwise eat.
For instance, in our green goodies, you're getting a whole bunch of kale, like an entire bunch. You're also getting 5 to 10 stalks of celery, half of a lime, apples.
Shine says juicing has recently gotten a bad rap, with some people thinking it's just a quick way to lose weight.
You may lose some weight whenever you go on a juice cleanse, but it's not sustainable weight loss. This is a good reset. It's a good way to clear out the toxins, clear out all the junk that's been sitting in your system.
In fact, clearing out toxins is one of the main reasons Shine started juicing.
I started Luna Juice whenever I had 6 months sober from drugs and alcohol, and I just really needed to find a new purpose for my life. I can't even explain in words. You would have to have known the life that I lived. 4 years ago, I was homeless.
A life gone, but far from forgotten.
Whenever you buy a bottle of Luna Juice, you're contributing to the health and happiness of another addict. Not just me, but I hire people who are in recovery. Over 25% of our staff is in recovery. If this was like an episode of Cribs, this would be the place where you would like jump up and be like, this is where the magic happens.
Using juice to help others live happier, healthier lives.
We hire women that are coming straight off the streets, and we love to do that. It really gives us the opportunity to feed into their lives and give back in that way.
Today here at the Doris Miller Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Center, we are welcoming and thanking and encouraging the riders for the Ride to Recovery Project Hero Ride. It really is just such a treat for our veterans here and for for us from the VA to encourage the wounded warriors and supporters of veterans who are on this bike ride.
It's always fulfilling to see that somebody cares about what you did and they cared about your situations.
I'll pick one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See them show it and represent it in action. It's it's really profound to me.
Thirsty.
It was windy, extremely windy.
Really?
Yes. Yep. But it was good. I felt good.